Hi everybody, are you guys ready to learn to crochet a beautiful, beautiful, I consider it pretty easy, but you do have to know how to do a double crochet, front post double crochet and a back post double crochet. Now if you don't know how to do them, I'll show you how. Other than that, it's very easy. So this is made with the rice stitch, which I taught it not too long ago, but I'm going to show you how to put, I'll show you how to do it again and how to put this border on it in the size of my blanket and, you know, the yarn and everything. This is what it looks like. It makes a nice thick fabric, and it does look the same on both sides, which is always nice. This is a nice blanket. I don't have a lot of room up here, but you did see it there in the picture on my couch. The border has a bit of a ruffle. Of course, you don't have to use the border that I use, but I will teach it just in case you're interested. So, isn't that beautiful? Now, you don't have to use the yarn that I used, but you can use any yarn that you choose, because I will give you the multiple of the stitch, and you can make this and customize it to as big or as small as you'd like it. All right? I do like that. I was wondering if the ruffle border would look okay, since this is such a, you know, straight up, not much, you know, it's kind of just symmetrical stitch, but I think the ruffle border adds a bit of extra flair. But you do you. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to tell you the size of this blanket. Okay, so the size of this blanket is 43 inches across, and that is not including the border. And with the border, it's 47, and then tall, it's 46 without the border, and with the border it's about 50 inches. That's just approximate. You know, everybody crochets a little bit tighter than looser than each other, so just give you approximate estimates. All right, let's go ahead and get started on this. It's a beauty, and you can do this. All right, you'll do it, you'll get it done, and you'll have a beautiful throw to gift to somebody, or put it on your couch, or it's nice and warm. Snuggle up with it on those warm nights. All right, let's go. Okay, so for this particular blanket that you see, I used ice yarns. It's called Puzzle Wool Worsted, and it is a 35 wool, 65 acrylic blend, medium weight number 4. Now, you don't have to use this yarn. You can use any medium weight number 4 that you like. And actually, this really reminds me quite a bit of puzzle yarn or something like that, of the effect. Maybe a little bit thinner than puzzle. No, it might be puzzle thickness, but something like that. That would be a good substitute. Mary Maxim has one that's very similar. That would make a good substitute. Michael's Loops and Threads, they have one that looks like pretty identical. Now, but you don't have to use that. You use any 4-weight yarn that you want. Now, this is not the color that I used. The color that I used was called Gold. And to make that blanket, it took nearly 8 balls. So it was like 2,750 yards approximately, or approximately 2,500 meters. Now, that is for the size that I just told you. Remember, you can make it as big, sorry about that, or as small as you'd like. All right, so I'm going to show you on a smaller scale, and I am using puzzle yarn as for my sample piece. All right, so once you get your chain of 141 stitches, we are going to be doing a double crochet in the 4th chain from our hook. So we don't count the one that's on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 4th chain, we're going to double crochet. And this chain here on the end does count as a stitch. And then we're going to work across, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. So row 1 is 1 double in every stitch, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of our row. All right, so I've made it to the end of row 1, Now, as I mentioned, I did put a stitch tutorial out for the rice stitch. Now, if this is done a little bit differently, sometimes stitches are done very similar, but still yet just a bit different, depending on what design you use. So just go ahead and follow along with me for this blanket. Okay, so for row 2 is the repeat row for the whole pattern. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work, and we are going to start off with a half double crochet into the very first stitch. We're going to half double crochet into that first stitch. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 2. We're going to do a front post double crochet into the next stitch. Now the front post double crochet is the same as working a regular double crochet, except we do not go into the top of the stitch. We actually work it around the post of the stitch. So we're going to yarn over and go around the post of that stitch to where the post is on the front of our hook. That's why it's called a front post stitch. So this, and then we just yarn over, pull it through, and do our double crochet like normal, just like that. Now the next one we're going to do is a back post double crochet. Now this one some people find a little bit trickier, but don't worry, you practice and practice and practice it, and eventually it's easy breezy. All right, so we're going to yarn over, and what we do is we go behind our work and come through and around our post like that, so the post is on the back. That's why it's the back post stitch. And then we yarn over and pull it through like that, and then we do our double crochet like normal. So that is going to be the repeat of this row. We're going to do a front post double crochet in the next stitch, so right around the post of it, yarn over and drop a loop and do your double crochet, and then the next stitch will be a back post double crochet. So we yarn over, but we got to go from the back forward, around the post and back out. So the post is on the back of your hook. We yarn over and just kind of pull it around like that, and then do our double crochet like normal. Again, we're going to front post double crochet, and then we're going to back post double crochet. So go from the back, then back out again. Post is on the back of your hook, yarn over, draw through, and go ahead and do your double crochet. Now this first row is a little fiddly, but after that it starts to become more solid and not so twisty, and it becomes much easier. Trust me, you got this. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this: the front post double crochet, back post double crochet, repeat until we get to the last stitch of our row. Okay, and that's where I'll be back up with you. All right, so I come to the end of row 2, and your last stitch should have been a front post double crochet, and then your second to the last stitch should have been a front post double crochet. And here in the last stitch, it's actually that chain, but we're just going to call it our last stitch. We're going to put a half double crochet into the top of the last stitch, and that will end row 2, and that will end the repeat row of this pattern. So why don't we go ahead and do it again? We're just going to repeat row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to put a half double into the very first stitch. Half doubles are kind of tricky. It's like hanging out to the side there. So half double crochet into that first stitch, and then the next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. But since we flipped our work, now you're working it around a back post. See that? If you flip your work back around, you can see it was a front post that we just ended in. But when we flip it back around and we repeat the same pattern that we did, it makes that front post now on the back. But we still want to do a front post double crochet around that stitch. And the same goes for the next stitch. We will be working a back post double crochet around this stitch right here, which now, since we flipped it, is a front post, but we want to work a back post around it. This is what gives the alternating effect of the rice stitch. Even though it's the same repeat, it's just one row, by turning your work, next stitch is a front post double crochet, you're doing it on the opposite side, so it gives that alternating effect. And then a back post. So we're just repeating what we just did on row 2. Front post double crochet right here in the next, and back post double crochet right here around this one that is a front post double crochet. Now here we go. Now we do a front post double crochet in the stitch that appears to be a back post double crochet. So we're just doing the same repeat. Front post double crochet, back post double crochet, all the way until we get to the last stitch of our row. All right, I'm coming to the end of row 3, which is just a repeat of row 2. And again, you should have ended in a front post, or your second to the last stitch should have been a front post double crochet, and then we're going to end with a half double crochet into the top of the last stitch. And this is what we're going to keep repeating from here on out, chaining 1, half double crocheting into the first stitch, and just repeating this pattern of always starting with a front post double crochet and then doing the back post double crochet next, like that. And we would repeat this pattern all the way to the end. Your second to the last stitch will be always be a front post double crochet, and you will always end with a half double crochet. So you want to keep doing this until you get your blanket as long as you want it to be, or as tall as you want it to be. All right, so do remember I am showing you on a smaller scale, and if you're following along with me, you want to work till it's approximately 43, 44 inches tall, between 42 and 44 inches tall, something like that. Doesn't have to be exact. Now we're going to do the border. But first, before I do a border, I like to do what's called a finishing edge. All right. So what I do is I'm using the same color as the blanket shows. You can switch colors if you want, but chain 1, and then I'm going to evenly space out single crochets all down the side. Just evenly spacing them out the best that I can. This gives you a nice clean edge, so you can put a nice clean, you have a nice clean working space to put a border on it. And also, if you don't want a border, this still gives you a nice clean edge to finish up your blanket. But as you can see, you just want to evenly space out single crochets all the way down your side. Now, when you get to the corner stitch, which I am almost there because, you know, mine's a lot smaller, but whenever you get to the corner stitch right here, you want to put 3 single crochets, 3 singles into a corner. That helps round that corner better. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work across the bottom, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. So this is what we're going to do all the way around. We're going to be working 1 single crochet in every stitch and working 3 single crochets in each of the 4 corners. All right, so I'm continuing working 1 single crochet in every stitch. And when I get to this corner, I'll put 3 single crochets, and then I'll evenly space up my single crochets up to the side. I'll put 3 single crochets up here in this corner, and then I will put 1 single crochet across the top, and I'll meet back up with you where we started. All right, so when you make it to the last stitch here, you want to go ahead and put 3 single crochets into your last stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3, and then you want to slip stitch into your next stitch like that. All right, and then I'm going to tie this off. I'm going to be using the same yarn, but I'm just going to clip this off so I can start in a different spot. Okay, so that is the finishing edge, and as you can see, it makes a nice clean edge for you to work a border around, or you can leave it as it is. That looks nice. So the border that I'm using has no has no specific multiple, so we can go ahead and start row 1 of the border. So you want I'm using the same color yarn. You want to start in the middle single crochet of one of these groups of 3 single crochets in the corner. So middle 1, and you want to chain 1, and we're going to put 3 double crochets into that middle stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Now what we're going to be doing is we're kind of going to be repeating that edging row, but we're going to be doing it with double crochet. So we're going to be working 1 double crochet in every stitch across until we get to the middle single crochet of that group of 3 in the corner, and we will put 3 double crochets into that stitch, and then we will continue along putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to our next 3 single crochets that are in the corner from the previous row. And in the middle one, we work 3 doubles, and we will just continue this all the way around. So it is, like I said, very much like the edging row, except for we're doing it with double, and we're putting our 3 doubles in the middle single crochet of the group of 3 that we put into each of the 4 corners. Just like this. So I'll meet back up with you when we get to the corner. Alright, so I've made it to the middle single crochet right here of my group of 3, and we just work 3 double crochets into that stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3, and then we continue around working 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to the middle single crochet of our next corner, and we'll work 3 in there. Alright, so I'll meet back up with you at our starting point. Alright, so I'm coming to the end. I want to go ahead and slip stitch into my first double crochet here, and that'll end a row 1 of the border. So we did the edging, which doesn't count. Now this is row 1. So for row 2, we are going to be working in between the double crochets, like here and here. We're not going to be working into the tops of them. So we're going to slip stitch in between the next 2 double crochets. So right here we slip stitched at the top to end that row. Now we're going to slip stitch in between here. All right, like that. So remember, we're not working into the tops of the stitches for this particular row. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to put 2 double crochets in between those 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and there's 2, and then in between the next 2 double crochets right here, we're going to work 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in between every double crochet. So see, in between, not going into the top of the stitch, but we're going in between the double crochets and putting a double crochet into it all the way around. Now when we get to the next corner, I'll show you how we work the corner. It's the same as we just worked this one, but I'll go ahead and work 1 double crochet in between every double crochet of the previous row, and I'll meet back up with you near the corner stitch, the 3 double crochets that are in the corner, so in between. All right, so I have made it to the next corner where we put 3 double crochets into it. Now this is how we're going to work every corner. In between these stitches here, we're going to put 2 double crochets in between these 2 and 2 double crochets in between these 2. So this is how the corners are worked. It's the same way we worked the last corner, but that, and then you go in between the next 2 and you work 2 doubles in between. And then we just repeat what we've been doing, working 1 double crochet in between the double crochets from the previous row until you get to the next corner, the 3 double crochets that are together from the previous row. And you work it the same as we just did this. 2 double crochets in between this one and 2 double crochets in between this one. And I'll meet back up with you at the beginning. All right, so we're coming to the end of row 2 of our border, and I just double crocheted in between that stitch, and we're back at the beginning where I put 2 double crochets in between this stitch. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first double crochet. Now what we want to do is slip stitch 2 times until we get to in between. Here's where we put 2 double crochets here, and then we put 2 double crochets into that stitch for the corner. We want to go in between those 2 sets of double crochet. So we'll slip stitch once into the next stitch and then into the space. So we're working into this in between the stitches again, and this is round 3. So we're going to chain 1, and now in between this space here, this is going to be our corner stitch. We're going to work 4 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, and there's 4. And now we're going to continue around working 1 double crochet in between the stitch, in between the double crochets, not on top, from the previous row until we get to the next corner. And I'll show you again how we do the corners one more time. So again, we're just working 1 double crochet in between the double crochets from the previous row. Okay, I'll meet back up with you at the next corner. All right, so I made it to the corner here of round 3. So this is how the corners are going to be done. It's the same way that we just did it. So here's the corner of the previous row, and you see there's 2 double crochets into this stitch and 2 double crochets into this stitch. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a double crochet in between that first 2 double crochets that are together, and then in between right here, this 2 set of double crochets and this 2 set is going to be our corner, and we're going to put 4 double crochets into that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to start off again putting 1 double crochet in between all the double crochets from the previous row, working the remaining corners the same way as we've worked this one right here and the one before it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and continue, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of row 3 of the border, and we just got 1 more row and we will be finished. All right, so I'm coming to the end here, and this is where our first corner here, this was where we worked in between the 2 sets of 2 double crochet. we got to put our final double crochet in between that first set of 2 double crochets, just like that. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet. All right, so now we're not going to be working in between the stitches anymore. We're going to be working into the tops of the stitches. So it's very easy now. This is going to put the ruffle on it. You don't have to if you want to leave it nice and clean the way it is. So that's fine. Do whatever you want. But in case you do, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3 and single crochet into the top of the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 3. This is what we're going to do all the way around. Nothing special in the corners. And single crochet into the top of the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 3 and single crochet into the top of the next stitch. Chain 3, repeat, single crochet into the top of the next stitch. Chain 3, single crochet into the top of the next stitch, chain 3. It'll get a bit more rufflier as you go. But remember, when you go around the corners, you do not do anything special. It's just single crochet into the top of the next stitch, chain 3, and then single crochet into the next stitch. And we do this all the way around until we make it back around to the beginning. Just like this. See that? And then when you make it back around to the beginning, you would single crochet into your last stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch here into your first stitch. And that would be it. And then it will start to look like this. This is what you'll have. So I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial. I think it's very beautiful. I like it. I do. And I hope that you do too.